Hello, passengers, and welcome aboard the SAS Viya Release Highlight Show.
The theme of today's show is co-pilots. My name is Tiago, and I will be your pilot for today's flight tour. I'll keep my yapping short and sweet so you can enjoy the trip. First, my co-pilot David Vike will make a quick stop into the SAS Viya verse. I highly recommend some of the attractions there, including SAS Settings in Microsoft 365, Python and SAS Intelligent Decisioning, new features in SAS Studio, and SAS Model Studio Rich Text. After that, I will personally fly us to Release Talk Country, where SAS Viya Copilot is the talk of the town. We will be joined by experts Thomas Weilman, Sean Meelan, and Brett Wujek. They will guide us through various aspects of SAS Viya Copilot. Feel free to take pictures and ask questions as we go. But for now, buckle up as we make our way into the SAS Viyaverse. Thank you.
Hello, and welcome back. In this episode, we will take a look at enhancements to Python in SAS Intelligent Decisioning and a whole bunch of updates to SAS Studio. So let's get right into it. We are starting things off inside of Excel this time, which we haven't done in quite a while. So in here, we are inside of the SAS add-on that we can add to our Office 365 suite. And in here, I've already signed to my environment. What is new is now that you have the ability to open up your application options menu, and you can either jump straight to your SAS Viya environment, or you can now go to the settings page where you can change the default behavior, how things are inserted and updated into your Excel spreadsheet. I really like these additional options around updating how Excel interprets value that it's getting, especially if you have issues with like date formatting that Excel might automatically apply on top of your data, then you can suppress this behavior using this capability. And also you can preserve specific formats that you apply to your data using this as well. And of course, you can now also finally switch to the good old dark theme, so your stuff looks a bit nicer, at least in my opinion. Other than that, you can still add your tables, upload data from here, insert visual analytics reports, or run SAS programs right from this add-in. So this is just changing how you interact with moving things to and from Excel and SAS Viya here inside of SAS Intelligent Decisioning, where a new property has been added to our different content types, where we can then set the Python version for each. Now, let's say we go into this decision here, then we can switch to the properties pane, and there you will now see a new property called Python version. This will enable you to set a specific Python version that you have tested this code with. This is especially important if you orchestrate a lot of different Python content across a whole bunch of different assets. So that if you go to validate things, there will be a note and a warning for you if there is a mismatch between the Python versions. Now, of course, you can go ahead and overwrite that, but it's very important to keep in mind that not every Python version is aligned with each other. There is new features being introduced all of the time. There's features being deprecated. And of course, if it's being tested for different Python version, that might also imply different packages and package versions that are available in each Python runtime. So this is a great way to help you communicate in a more standardized way which Python version is being used by which asset. And if you are building with Python within this environment, I would urge you to always make explicit use of this feature to help others understand what your requirements are. So really awesome communication and transparency feature here. Now, let's switch over to SAS Studio, where we have a whole flurry of new and awesome features for every type of user of SAS Studio. We're going to start things off with the big one, compare data. This is a step that a lot of people love from Enterprise Guide, for example, and have been using for a whole bunch of time. Now, comparing data is, of course, one of those things that you if you have to do it, it's always like, oh, how do I best compare my data sets? How do I find misaligned values? How do I do regression testing, for example, between different versions of my ETL flows? So this is where comparing data can come really helpful. And if we pull this up, we can see we can either do a comparison between two data sets or even within a single data set. We can do it on all columns or only on a specific subset of columns to compare. We can also be more explicit about the comparison criteria here, also how you handle missing values within that. And then you can also specify which type of information is actually useful to you as an output. I left everything on default essentially, and let's just go in and look at the results here. We get two output data sets, but first let's slowly scroll through the result pieces where we get general information about our two data sets. Then we get a summary on all the mismatches and potential matches between our data set. Here we can see there is none that are exactly equal. Then there is some observation with some observations being unequal, but most of them are fully unequal in here. And we can also dive deeper into the different kind of values that are different and how they differ here and get an understanding of what's going on. Now, with two data sets that are this drastically different, of course, this gets harder to read, but you can imagine, especially if you only have like a handful of data misalignments in your code here, you can quickly go in and then understand the base comparison and diff of all your different observations. This becomes even easier if you have specific ID values that help you identify the right row within your data set quickly. So really awesome and helpful step here to use. Now, let's switch over to a feature that is awesome for developers, especially developers working within large contexts of code. So imagine a long and arduous SAS macro code or just combining a whole bunch of different things. And where this comes in helpful is if you produce warnings and errors within the code. So if I submit this code right here, I will, of course, get my error message on the right-hand side. I can also see where that occurred, but it doesn't necessarily reference the line number within my code editor specifically. With the small code snippet, that isn't a big issue, but you can imagine larger codes where this becomes a problem here. And what we can now do is we can go to our profile picture, go to Settings, and then go to Editors. And here we can enable the display errors and warnings in code option. Gonna hit close. And now let's rerun this. And now the specific error we had gets highlighted within our code, and I can hover over it to also see the specific error message. And if I had more errors here, I could then also page between them to kind of get an understanding, where does this error actually come from? Is this a continuous error, or are they not connected here? So I can really build up. So let's fix our first error here by adding the S and rerun our code. Now our error went away. Whoops, added the snippet. Let's rerun this. sashelp.cars, removed it completely. And now we see our error message, right? Recursively referenced in the target table. I might be fine with that or not, depending on my use case. But now I can more easily move through my code and specifically fix the error messages and warnings as they come up within that code. So to me, really helpful features. And the last feature I want to highlight in this release is within tables in SAS Studio. You can now go to columns, click on the three little dots, and you can filter the column from here. Now, of course, you could already enter an expression up above here, but this really is cool to me because you can easily select the operator here. Let's say we do something like BMW. We hit apply. We have an OR filter, so let's BMW or Audi. And and I don't need the quotes. And now I can also see that filter here, that it's being filtered from that screenshot directly, right? And I can go back in, filter columns, adjust my filter as I see fit. So really awesome and helpful feature for me. Let's move over to SAS Model Studio, where we got a new handy feature for documenting our pipelines a bit easier. We can now go to the options on a pipeline, select expand header, and then we can add text in here. That's nothing new. What's new is this now supports rich text, meaning we can say hello world in here, and then we could say this is a great documentation header. And moving into this, we can now highlight things and turn them bold, italic, underline them, change the color of the text. And here you can now see it looks like a link. We could also change the background color of this. And of course, we can also link to external documentation, like a Confluence page, for example. You can change the size, you can change the font, and also how it is aligned, or even using headings in here. Now, bolding things is also enabled through Control B or Command B if you're on Mac, and italicization is also available through Command I / Control I. So really handy new feature to help you document things easier, communicate the important bits more clearly to your end users. And the same is also available if we go to the Insights tab, where we get the project summary. There we can also now add project notes that are also rich text. So we could say something like test the tester. And then when we go to generate a PDF, we can of course go in here and let's say I don't care about the project summary for whatever reason. And then we can just hit export. This will now generate this PDF for us. We can open it up and we can scroll through this, and you can see our rich text also translates down into this PDF. Really handy feature and super helpful to communicate your insights so that others can follow more easily, or link associated third-party content like Confluence pages or Jira tickets that you used to document your work along the way. With that, I hope you enjoyed these new features as much as I did, and see you next time. Bye-bye.
Hats off to my co-pilot, David. Very smooth flight. Thank you, David. I'll take control of the plate now and redirect us to SAS Viya Copilot. We have 3 guests on board. First up is Thomas Wildman to talk about SAS Viya Model Studio Copilot. Hello, Thomas. Thank you for coming aboard our show.
Thanks, Tiago. I'm really excited to be here.
Glad to have you. Let's get right into it. Can you tell us what is SAS Viya Model Studio Copilot?
Model Studio Copilot is an AI assistant designed to make model experimentation and model building easier. When we talk about a copilot, we mean an AI-enabled advisor that works beside you, suggesting options, drafting steps, and explaining what is happening while you stay in control and make the final decisions. Model Studio Copilot can do everything from suggesting pipeline architectures, adding individual data mining or modeling nodes to those pipelines, running those nodes, and then providing plain language explanations of configurations and results grounded in SAS documentation. So at its core, Model Studio Copilot is a trusted AI teammate that helps data science teams move faster, understand their pipelines and code more deeply, and deliver models that those teams can have confidence in.
Thank you for telling us what it is in a nutshell. What I want to know is, why is Model Studio Copilot an important addition to SAS Viya?
So SAS Viya Model Studio Copilot helps organizations get more out of the data and AI investments that they already have by giving them a guided, conversational way to access Viya's powerful tools. A key idea behind Model Studio Copilot is the role of LLMs as an orchestration layer. So large language models are great at natural language interactions, workflow guidance, and decision support. SAS Viya Model Studio combines those strengths with its trusted analytics engine for data preparation, model training, scoring, and governance. And this lets users interact conversationally with Viya while keeping the performance, reliability, and auditability that they expect from SAS. And so SAS Viya Model Studio Copilot delivers impact in 3 ways. First, it improves productivity. By exploring data, suggesting data preparation steps and modeling approaches, and then explaining the results, Model Studio Copilot helps teams experiment faster. Second, it broadens access to Model Studio. Someone new to analytics can ask for guidance or explanations, and experts can dive deep into specifics like feature importance, diagnostics, and model tuning strategies. Copilot scales to both ends of that user spectrum, helping every user move faster. And then third, it improves decision-making. Model Studio Copilot surfaces insights, explains trade-offs, and grounds answers in trusted SAS knowledge, which shortens the path from a business question to a well-supported answer.
Easy as 1, 2, 3. Sounds simple enough. I think you also brought us a demo today, or someone on your team did. Is this true?
That's right. My colleague Stu Stukowski has put together a great demo, and I'd like for us to view that now.
Let's hop right in.
SAS Viya Copilot for SAS Model Studio is an intelligent assistant designed to help you build machine learning models, dynamically generate pipelines, explain and interpret results, improve models, and answer questions about both machine learning and SAS visual machine learning concepts. In this example, we'll be creating a model to try and predict whether customers applying for a loan are likely to default on it. Access SAS Viya Copilot by clicking the Copilot icon in the top right corner. When you have a node selected and you first open Copilot, it will give you some ideas on what you can do. We'll ask it to suggest the next node for us. Depending upon what is in your pipeline, SAS Viya Copilot may come up with multiple different suggestions. For this, Copilot recommended we can either go straight to modeling or add a transformation node. It has also suggested an exploratory process that we can run instead to build a more robust pipeline. Let's select that and have it run through some additional suggestions. When you run an exploratory process, Copilot will try multiple combinations of models, settings, and pipelines. It updates you along the way as it makes improvements, showing how your fit statistic changes. In this case, we're looking at the KS statistic. The higher the number, the better the model is at discriminating between whether the loan will default or not. This process will run for 2 minutes, and you can stop it at any time. Once it completes, you can choose one of the options that it found. We'll choose the best option, which is a pipeline with an imputation and gradient boosting node. Copilot automatically adds it for us. After the nodes are added, Copilot tells us the optimal settings it chose for the gradient boosting model and gives us a brief explanation of each setting. Let's go ahead and tell it to run the node. We can view the results of the model by right-clicking the node and selecting Results in the context menu. There's a lot of important information here, and we'd like to have Copilot explain it to us. We'll ask it to do that. Copilot collects the information from the model results and provides a summary of its findings. It gives us information like a high-level overview, analysis of key findings, most important model features, a ROC report, fit statistics, how to interpret them, an overall assessment of the model, and more. In this case, we can see that the gradient boosting model did very well, but it could potentially suffer from overfitting and additional tuning may be needed. We'll go ahead and add a simpler challenger model. We're going to ask Copilot to add a logistic regression node after the imputation node, then run it. Copilot supports chaining multiple actions at once, allowing you to efficiently build your pipeline. Since this is a default logistic regression model, we're going to ask Copilot to improve it. This will start an improvement process that tries various combinations of model settings and hyperparameters to improve its performance. This will run for 2 minutes and can be stopped at any time. Copilot will summarize the overall improvement to the fit statistic and what settings are needed to achieve it. We'll go ahead and apply these improvements. We now have 2 models available: gradient boosting and logistic regression. A novice data scientist may want to know the difference between the two and when you might want to apply one over the other. We'll ask Copilot what the difference is between them. Copilot comes back with descriptions of each model type, its strengths, and use cases. In addition, it gives us links to SAS documentation that we can follow to dig further into the results. These links also show us where Copilot retrieved its information. If you have questions about machine learning concepts or SAS Model Studio, Copilot's here to help. Finally, we're going to ask Copilot to run model comparison to determine which is the best model. Once that completes, we'll go to the Insights tab to learn more about the final champion model. Since we're happy with our model, we'll go ahead and go to the Pipeline Comparison tab to register our model into Model Manager, where it can be used by AI agents that support loan applications.
Super impressive demo there from Stu Stokowski. My next question is, who will be able to access Model Studio Copilot? Can anybody get into it?
So the good news is SAS Viya Model Studio Copilot is a standard feature on the platform. Your Viya administrator just needs to turn it on from Environment Manager, and once it's enabled, all your analysts and data scientists get the same access and can start building in Model Studio.
That's awesome to hear. Just flip it on and you got it. But when will it actually be available for people?
You'll be able to start using Viya Model Studio Copilot in version 2025.12. That comes out today, December 18th, 2025.
Oh my gosh, today. I have to go in right after this interview and check it out. But before I do that, where can I go learn more so I know what I'm doing?
If you have any questions on Model Studio's how Model Studio's Copilot works or best practices, there's plenty of documentation in the SAS Help Center. Also, the SAS Trust Center includes information on Copilot privacy, security, and compliance.
Perfect. I'll go read up on those. Thomas, thank you so much for coming on the show and telling us about Model Studio Copilot.
Happy to be here.
So Thomas focused on Copilot for Model Studio, which is a no-code model development environment, but we haven't forgotten the coders. Let's now hear from Sean Meelan, who will tell us about SAS Viya Copilot for SAS code generation. Sean, over to you.
Hi there, my name is Sean Meelan. Today I'm going to be taking you through some of the features of SAS Viya Copilot Code Assistance. This Copilot currently lives as an extension in Visual Studio Code. Let's start with something simple. We'll ask it to print the first 10 rows of the SAS Help Iris dataset. You give it commands by enclosing them in comments, selecting them, and then either clicking Generate Code or use the command palette. Once you have your code, you can run it with the F3 command. And we have our results on the right. I'll go ahead and close the results and delete the code to keep things as clean as possible. Let's do something a bit more descriptive. Let's ask it to provide statistical descriptors of our dataset. Once again, we'll highlight it and either click that Generate Code button or use the command palette. F3 runs our code. And we can see our results. Let's go ahead and close this. Let's try a modeling task. Let's use logistic regression to predict species using petal width and petal length. And running our code gives us our results. Let's try something different. Let's model the same variables, but use a random forest and hold back 20% of the data as a validation set. Let's say that we don't recognize all of these lines. Let's use the Add Comments feature to add a comment to each one. Highlighting the code, and then either clicking the button or using the command palette. And now we have a nice comment that shows what each line is doing, so we can then further explore. Let's go ahead and run this code and see our results. Now that we've seen the Generate Code and Add Comments feature, let's look at the final one, Explain Code. I'm going to enter some SAS code that I have lying around. Instead of going line by line, I'm going to ask Copilot to explain the code for me. I'm going to select it all, and then I'm going to click the Explain button or use the Explain command in the command palette. And now we have a nice explanation of each part of the code. And a summary of what all the code does at the very bottom.
Thank you, Sean. These new SAS Viya Copilot features will be available in the SAS Viya trials, along with guides very soon. To finish up our series of tours, Brett Wujek will get into a bit of the tooling that drives most of this with Model Context Protocol, or MCP. Brett, take it away.
As you've seen, SAS Viya Copilot serves as sort of an intelligent assistant to help you be more productive using SAS Viya. And it does so in three main ways. It can inform you, tell you about capabilities and technology. It can instruct you, tell you how to do things, and then it can act. It can do things for you. Now, all of these are driven by large language models, or LLMs, behind the scenes, but LLMs alone aren't sufficient to provide the level of intelligence and assistance needed and expected by users. Those first two capabilities, informing and instructing you, are enhanced by something called RAG, or Retrieval Augmented Generation. Essentially, this is efficiently searching documentation related to the prompt or question or query to provide additional focused context to the LLM to generate a response. So what about that third form of assistance, actually doing things for you? How does Copilot take action? The key technology here is MCP, or Model Context Protocol. It's a standard defined by Anthropic that has really taken off over the last year. Quite simply, it allows language models to discover and interact with external tools, data sources, and other services in a structured, consistent, and secure manner. So if you think of all the capabilities SAS Viya offers across the AI lifecycle, from data management and analysis to report and dashboard generation to modeling, including model pipeline generation, like you saw there in Model Studio, and other forms of analytics and MLOps capabilities. These are all really just tools or services that, when MCP enabled, can be discovered and invoked by AI agents to carry out tasks. And this is what allows SAS Viya Copilot to do things for you. Now, This, of course, is not limited to SAS Viya Copilot. We're providing an MCP server to allow external agents to tap into the power of SAS capabilities, initially providing an MCP tool to execute SAS code, which, if you think about it, really opens up all sorts of possibilities when combined with SAS code generation that is really matured. So this will enable you to do things like use natural language to execute SAS code through AI assistants like Claude or Gemini or Microsoft Copilot, with that code running on a SAS Viya compute server behind the scenes. It'll allow you to automate analytical workflows by connecting AI agents directly to SAS Viya compute infrastructure. And it will allow you to build AI applications that leverage SAS Viya compute resources or data for data analysis and statistical and machine learning workloads. So how can you get this? You can download this MCP server from GitHub and run it locally to use in conjunction with your SAS Viya environment. We'll be adding other capabilities to this MCP server, and we'll provide other MCP servers as part of standard Viya deployments in the months to come to expose all sorts of Viya capabilities to external agents. So really expanding the ways that you can really tap into the power of SAS Viya.
Thank you, Brett. It's going to be very exciting to see how agents will make Copilot even that much more intelligent and impactful in the months to come. Now, as we make our approach for landing, I'd like to remind everyone of a special trip happening from April 27th through the 30th in Texas. I am, of course, referring to SAS Innovate 2026. This is our biggest data and AI event of the year for SAS customers, users, and partners. There will be more than 200 breakout sessions, 50 workshops and labs, 20 certification opportunities, and much, much more. To learn more and to register, go to sas.com/innovate. Now is a great time to give us a like and subscribe to the SAS Users YouTube channel, and click on that bell so you'll get notified for new videos and when we go live for our next show in February. Until then, comment on what topics you'd like to see in future shows. It has been my pleasure being your pilot. Thank you all for flying with us. Enjoy the holiday season and have a happy new year.